everyone, and welcome again to another edition of Defining Moments. I'm your host, Larry Nix, and I am so excited to have you join me today. If you're listening, if you're watching on your various apparatus of listening and viewing, it's Thursday. And so I welcome you a day after hump day, a couple of days before the weekend. I hope that you are faring well. You know, Jesus says in John 10:10, the thief cometh not but for to steal, kill, and to destroy. But I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. I hope that you are faring well. Remember this, there's nothing that you face in life by yourself that our Lord Jesus does not have the strength, the wisdom to help us get through. David says it this way, yea, though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Why? Because, Lord, I know that you're with me. And when he became an older person, he says, I was young, now I'm now old. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. I want to encourage you today. I want to inspire you today, as is the essence of this program, Defining Moment. The intent is to encourage you, inspire you, and yes, to challenge you to live the purpose that God created you for. My last scripture for the day, I think, is Ephesians 2:10 says that we are God's workmanship. One translation says that we're his handiwork, created in Christ Jesus, listen to this, unto good works that God prepared for us beforehand. If you read that backwards, that would simply say that God created a work and then he created you specifically, not incidentally, accidentally. He created you specifically to accomplish this work. And the enemy doesn't like that. And that's why you have issues and barricades and barriers and frustrations, because the enemy is trying to keep you from your purpose. It is no accident that you're going through these trials and tribulations, because the enemy is trying to discourage you. Because if he can discourage you, then he can keep you away from your purpose. That's the topic of our program today, is living within your purpose. And God knew of no better purpose, no better person than today on this program than my guest, my friend, Elisa Thomas, on Defining Moment. I am so delighted to have her on my program. Elisa, welcome to Defining Moment.
Thank you.
I'm glad you said something, because
I said that because you said Elisa.
Elisa.
Arlisa.
Arlisa.
You put the A and the R in front of Lisa.
All right.
Arlisa.
Arlisa.
Yeah, most call me Lisa, but
can I call you Lisa so I won't mess it up? Because if I don't, I'm gonna mess it up 10 times. Arlen, all right? Is that okay? I can remember Arlisa.
Yeah,
Lisa. Well, but you know what? Your parents gave you that name for a reason, so I want to honor the fact that they gave you Arlisa.
And then they turn right around and call me Lisa.
They call you Lisa. So again, Arlisa, welcome to Defining Moments.
Thank you so much.
You know, I tell people all the time that God has blessed me to have a lot of relationships, to know a lot of people. And this program, the guest on this program is intentional, meaning that I don't flip through the Rolodex and say, okay, now who have I had on this program and who do I want to have on this program? Your purpose to be on this program, and those persons that are here, their purpose to be on the program, because my goal in life is to use the gifting that God has given me to be a blessing to others. I'm a conduit. I'm not I'm not a warehouse. I'm a distribution center. Right. And to understand is to know that if God can get it through you, then he doesn't mind getting it to you. And so there's something going on in the atmosphere. Okay. People are discouraged. People are frustrated. People are making permanent decisions for something that is temporary, and they need hope. Right. And oftentimes we don't understand that God sends us, he trusts us to go through things because he wants us to use those experiences as a part of our testimony.
Absolutely.
Arlisa is a native of Cary, Mississippi, which is akin to Rolling Fork, Mississippi. That's and for those of you who are listening across the country and you don't know where that is, that's in the Mississippi Delta. Is that right?
That's right.
That's a part of the Mississippi Delta. Arlisa, she attended Delta State University, played Delta State University. Mississippi.
You
Listen,
got it.
listen, you sound like my English teacher. You're correcting me on Miss Hushman, my English teacher. I love that lady because she corrected me on every spot. Little did she know that I would be on radio broadcasting across the country. And then after that, she attended Mississippi College,
That's correct.
receiving her bachelor's degree in graphics design. All right. So you attended what again?
Mississippi Delta Community College.
Mississippi Delta Community College.
2 years, and then after that, Mississippi College.
Mississippi College.
And then Jackson State is where I received my
Master's
in technology education.
In education and instructional technology. Man, listen, not only you are avid athlete, but you have brains as well.
I better.
And then you're a professional basketball player with the Mississippi Lady Lakers.
That's correct.
All right. So obviously, this is not an academic laced programs that we talk about all of your accomplishments, because it's not about you. It's about the work that the Lord does inside of you.
That's right.
I was so impressed with our phone conversation that you shared that there were many times as an aspiring athlete that you wanted to give up. And you've held the basketball in your hand. Your bio suggests that you've had the best, because I've done research on you, that you've held the basketball in your hand ever since of age 5.
That's
all right.
correct.
And there are many times along the way, and you've received accolades and rewards and awards and just glowing interviews. I saw your interview that you did with our local CBS affiliate, WJTV. But there were some times along the way that you really wanted to hang it up and you really wanted to quit.
That's correct.
But you shared the story with me, and we'll get into it. Don't want to get ahead of myself. You shared the story with me that after the Lord transitioned your mother into heaven, that it was at that point that you decided that either you were going to cut bait or you were going to make it happen.
That's
You know, that you took that negativity, that you took the hurt and the pain, and you turned it into motivation. Will you just introduce, without getting too academic, will you just introduce the people, if I've botched it, will you just introduce them, who you are?
Well, for one, you've done a good job introducing me.
Well, thank you.
But I am Arlisa Thomas. A lot of people call me Lisa. For those who may Google that sometimes, you will see that. I'm from Cary, Mississippi, as Larry said. And I went to Mississippi Delta Community College 2 years. I played there. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. I played at South Delta High School in Rollingport. I know a lot of people know me from there because that's when my basketball journey started.
Okay.
Because I was the one whipping up on everybody.
Yeah, that's when people started taking note of you.
Yeah, that's when they started taking note. From there, I also started a training program. I didn't even have a name when I started my training program, but it's called LT Element, and some more factors have been added to it. So I do mentorship.
So what does LT Element? What does that mean?
It stands for Lisa Thomas Element.
Not Arlisa.
No, Lisa Thomas.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, and it's so crazy. I didn't put Arlisa because for some reason when I heard Lisa, I knew that means completely be yourself, or you did some Lisa stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever I got in trouble at home,
Lisa,
I didn't hear Arlisa. I heard Lisa.
I hear that.
So I learned, so
LT Element, it's your nonprofit, it's your foundation. It is the tent that you use to teach people what?
Basketball and life skills.
Okay.
Basketball and life skills.
Why life skills? Because people are like, man, I want to be a great basketball coach. I want to be a great basketball player. But sometimes we're so focused on the sport that we forget about the person. What about developing the person?
And that's why I added that in there, because I was one of those athletes who didn't have the life skills, and I saw how it affected my life. So I said, you know what? Every athlete that I train up under me, they're going to have those life skills, because it can stop you from getting scholarships.
Yeah. So let's break down the concept of life skills to its most net point. What does that mean, life skills?
That means, how do I survive in society outside of a court? So most of your time is allocated to basketball when you're in school. That's what you breathe, sleep, and eat. You don't even dress up if you don't have to. So what they did not teach us is that when you leave from here, there's a world out there. There is a society where you have to work. You have to have some establishment for yourself. So that means that you have to learn what it means to be in a business or work up under someone or to start your own. So even if that means that you need to learn about finances. They don't teach basketball players about that. That's why we always say we go broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
listen, I want you to hold that point. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. I'm with my guest, Arlisa.
Keep going.
Hey, listen, so thank you for joining us, those that are listening and streaming us live on the various social media apparatus. I know days like this that I want to pull you close because I know that many of us we're at different places in life. Some feel that life has passed you by and you were never able to get the kind of support in order to help you prune or to help you refine your gifting. And then some of you are in a place you feel like you're stuck. And so or Lisa, if you will, I'm so impressed with her because there's an illusion that some of us are so
10 seconds.
so gifted that we don't go through things, or that we've been picked out to not go through things. I want to talk about that on the side of the break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Defining Moments. I'm with my guest, Lisa Thomas, a professional basketball player and life coach, talking about how important it is not only for you to develop your skill set in whatever chosen profession, right? You as athletics, you as basketball, being a professional basketball player, but also how important it is to be well developed as a human being.
Right.
And you were speaking to that because there's some athletes, unfortunately, they go to school. I'm about to say something real hard.
Say it.
I'm about to say something real hard, and I'll do this. There are some athletes who get pimped through school by their coaches and the administration. All they want touchdowns and field goals and 3-point shots and 2-point shots. And after they graduate, that athlete, they're not good enough to be drafted. And unfortunately, they can't congregate a sentence and they end up being thrown away.
And then they hit you with that due to unforeseen circumstances. I can't even help you get a job.
Wow.
You are on your own. Don't call me for help. You're on your own.
How devastating is that?
It's extremely devastating.
Because you gave all. My son played football at Mississippi State, and you said something earlier. You said if you're serious about it as a job,
right.
I mean, my son, he was in rapping at 7:00 in the morning. He was in conditioning and weight training at 7:30. Got to go to class.
Right.
Back in wrapping up at 3:30. He's on the field at 4. Finish. He's in study hall at 7. Between then, he's got to get something, and it starts over again. It's serious.
It is. It's very serious.
And the question becomes, how do you, or Lisa, how do you inspire and encourage young athletes to stay focused? Because not many of your names will get called in the draft round.
That's right. I would encourage those who are wanting to follow that path is to have a why.
Have a why?
A why. The reason why you need to have a why is because at the end of the day, when you want to give up, you need to be able to go back to that why. And this is just something I just recently, I was on another station saying the same thing. It's serious to have that why. If you don't have a why, you need to figure out why. Because if you don't, you're just going to go through the motion. It'll be easier for you to quit. It'll be easier for you to just not have a passion in it. So that why means a lot.
And to give up. And so even though you were a great athlete, people were hollering your name, and I've had professional football players and basketball players on this program. and some of them are still active. All right, professional players, and some of them are retired. And the very disappointing and even so depressing thing can be when all of the cheering goes away.
Oh yeah.
What do you do after the cheering, after the, you hearing your name and watching your picture on the Jumbotron and people giving you stuff and you don't have to pay for lunch and dinner and autographs? What happens when all of that go away?
You have to figure out what's next because it will make you feel not important. You won't feel important at all anymore. So there will be something inside of you. I speak for myself. It was something inside of me that wanted that back. How do I get that?
So let's digress for a second. So you, as a young lady, you wanted to play basketball.
Absolutely.
How did you fall in love with that?
My brother didn't want to help watch us at home, so he put us outside and put a ball in my hands. That's literally how it happened. My mom, we come from a household of 7 kids, and whenever
What
mom
number
and
are you?
dad, I'm number 6.
Okay.
So no, yeah, I'm number 6. Whenever my mom and dad went to work, my older siblings were held accountable for watching us, and my brother did not want to deal with us, so he was like, "Let's go outside. Go outside." So when outside, he literally put the ball in my hand, and I shot the ball, and I made it because he was about to go back inside. He turned around, he came back, and he said, "Shoot it again." So I shot the ball again. I actually missed. I remember missing it, and he said, "Lisa, whenever you get ready to shoot the ball, always keep your eye on the goal.
Whoa.
Keep your eye on the goal." That him telling me that stuck with me throughout the years. And every time I brought it back to him, he was like, "I don't remember that." I said, "I remember." Because I started taking those words, keep your eye on the goal, and I started using it in different places in my life. So that also taught me to be a great shooter, just on the basketball side.
You know what? I made mention several programs ago. I said I preached a message years ago, and the title of the message was "The view is bigger in the windshield than it is the rearview mirror." People run off the road. Now, when I say run off the road, I'm using that as an illustration. They run off the road in life because they're so busy looking in the history, looking in the back, looking in the rearview mirror, rehearsing things in the past. You gotta let it go.
That's
All right. Rather than looking at the opportunities that's in front of you. We've all had pain. We've all had disappointments. We all have people that lie to us, that let us down, that bushback us, that you just really can't depend on, and you really realize who they are. All right. Let it go. Do you. It may be very lonely.
Right.
All right. It may be very lonesome. All right.
Preaching to the choir right now.
All right. but what you're saying is you got to stay focused.
That's right.
Because if not, you'll miss out.
Absolutely. You're gonna miss
Girl,
it
you
every
about
time.
you about to preach up in here.
Oh man,
Yeah.
don't make me, I will.
Yeah.
So that's how everything really started for me. I didn't want to leave from outside after that. So every day, all day, they started having to beg me to come inside because you know what? I was outside keeping my eye on the goal.
Sound like you sound like Michael Jordan. He would be outside for hours.
Right. So that became a strength for me. Like I said, I used that throughout life, keeping that eye on the goal. And
let's use that as a metaphor.
right.
Keeping your eyes on the goal so that you can hit the shot. Are you tempted to take your eyes off the ball because of things pulling at you?
Absolutely. All the time. Even yesterday.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes things can be overwhelming, especially when you don't know what to do. And it's like you said, those obstacles will, sometimes it'll tempt you to take your eye off of the goal. So that's when you have to go back to God. You have to lean on Him and trust that He has you.
Yeah.
Because it gets really hard.
Yeah. And that's
It gets
real.
really hard.
I listen. There's a reality. There are no super Christians out there. There are no Teflon Christians out there. And for anybody to try to sell that story, they're just lying to you. We go through trials too. We get hit too. We get hit sometimes and make you buckle down. All right. But our confidence is that storms don't last always,
That's right.
you know, and God is God of the storm. And so he will sustain you in the fire,
That's
the
right.
3 Hebrew boys. He will sustain you in the lion's den, Daniel. He may not. He'll sustain you in the ditch, Joseph. He may not take you out. He may not prevent you from doing it. But one preacher put it this way. He said, God has a way of using the mystery of pain
Right.
as a way to perfect you.
Oh man, I just said it earlier.
Wow.
I did. And that's something I had to learn. Um, I grew up, and this comes from getting that good treatment as a player.
Okay.
Sometimes it'll mess you up because you're not used to pain. So when you finally get that pain, that's when all that other stuff comes. Not even realizing that God is still trying to perfect you and mold you. So I had to learn that. And I just learned it recently. Just last year, I learned the meaning for that pain that was there.
Because quite frankly, and this is not dedicated toward you or suggested toward people, because sometimes we can start believing our own press.
That's right.
Because people are like, oh man, listen, she or he or that, all of that plus a bag of chips, and then we start, and we're like, I don't need anybody but me.
Right.
We start spending time thanking God for the gifts.
Right.
Someone said it. We spend time thanking God for the gift and forget about the gift giver.
That's right. I've been there too.
And so, well, we all have. And so you've gone through high school
Right.
being like this preeminent basketball player.
Correct.
You're playing JUCO, preeminent basketball player.
Right.
All right. So now where are you?
Now after that I got selected as a national player. And I did a tour, overseas tour, pretty much right after high school.
Were you ready for that?
Because I don't think I was.
Because you're from Cary, Rolling Fork, Mississippi, and now you're touring the world.
I don't think
different
I
languages,
was.
different cultures.
I don't think I was ready. And I'm only saying that I was ready to play, but my mindset wasn't where it was supposed to be.
I want you to explain that. You know, and boy, that's an incredible point.
20.
God is trying to get you ready for where he wants to take you. You can't squander opportunities. So that when the door opens, you'll miss it. Stay tuned. More Defining Moment with my friend, Arlisa Thomas. So, Arlisa, how important is it for each of us, no matter where we are in life, to pay attention to what God is trying to do with us and through us through various experiences?
It's important to a point to where it could be life or death.
Wow.
Or to a point to where it could prolong to where he's taking you.
I've been there. Sometimes I'm like, God, are you gonna get me out of this?
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of this. He's like, well, you hadn't learned the lesson yet.
Right. And I had to learn that as well. It's really, he doesn't move you until you learn the lesson. And sometimes
he loves us just that much.
He loves us.
That's an oxymoron, but he loves us just that much to keep us in a place so that we don't hurt ourselves.
It's like parenting. That's all it is. He really is our father, and he really does know what's best for us, so you really have to continuously seek him. Hold on to that coattail because he's the one guiding you, and you have to listen. You have to obey.
My mother used to say years ago, she said, bless her heart, celebrating her 94th birthday on Valentine's Day, this coming Monday. She says, be careful what you pray for because God may give it to you. In other words, people say, God, use me until you use me up or use me like you want me to be used. God said, okay. And they're like, God, I don't like this. He said, but you told me to use you. And I'm giving you because I know what's best. So first of all, I'm not going to answer that particular prayer because you can't stand what you really need. Right. But second of all, I'm going to give you what I know is best for you. Right. So be prepared. Be careful. I want to delve into that on the other side of our commercial break. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. You're a blessing to us, and we thank God for you. Welcome back to Defining Moments. I'm with my very special guest, someone that you better put on your radar. I'm telling you, and you know, I've had many guests in this program, and I don't tell you to put everybody on your radar. You need to put her on your radar, Arlisa Thomas. All right. She's currently with a professional basketball player with the Mississippi Lakers, and soon she's going to get drafted. And but past that, God is going to do some incredible things, Esther, through you. I'm going to start calling you Arlisa Esther.
I accept my new name.
Okay. So but you're saying that the pain sometimes is uncomfortable, but it's necessary.
Very necessary.
Because it is the pain that you've gone through in some experiences that has saved your life.
Right. And sometimes it's exactly what you're just being prepared for what you prayed for, in all honesty. And then sometimes we cause ourselves pain when we're not being obedient. So you have to know the difference. That's something that I had to learn, the difference between who's causing who pain. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm causing myself this trouble. For one, I'm not obeying. I'm doing what I want to do, and God is he's just trying to prepare me. He's trying to mold me to be exactly who he's
we can be some of the most narcissistic, prideful, hard-headed people on planet Earth, and we have the audacity to call ourselves Christians. We can be some of the most hard-headed people. I'm going to do it my way, and God is like, okay, I'm not going to fight you for control of your life, because I did give you free will.
Right.
I did give you free will. If you want to jump off of that bridge, I'll allow you to jump off that bridge, but before, I'll give you 10 warnings. I'll give you opportunities not to jump on the bridge, because chances are, if you jump off that bridge, a natural death, you're gonna die.
Right.
All right. Now you may end up coming to heaven, but you would have short circuited everything that I had planned for your life.
That's right.
So you having the experience of overseas, did that shake you up? A young lady from Mississippi Delta, did that shake you up?
It did. In all honesty, I took it lightly because I had the big head. I was just coming out of high school, so I had the big head.
Everybody calling your name, an attractive young lady. You need me. I'm traveling.
And I remember, because it was a short travel, it was a tour.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, and I was on the team with other top selected players as well. And I remember us having to go back to Indiana, which my mom took that trip with me, and I got into a hot shot contest there. Hot shot contest, you get to shoot, and then I entered into a dunk contest. A lot of people, I remember everybody being around laughing. This little
You
girl from
entered
Mississippi,
into a dunking contest.
I did. I was like,
and and you're every bit of 5'9"?
Every bit of 5'9". Got in the contest, and guess what? That was my first time dunking.
Wow.
I dunked.
Your first time?
First time dunking, everybody recording. And I'll never forget going back years later, and asking, I was like, who got that footage? And they was like, well, we don't know. But I took it lightly. So, I didn't ask at that time. I was just doing it.
Yeah.
I remember taking the trophy home from there. And I came back. And that's when I came to Mississippi Delta Community College. And because I had so much hype in the big head, like I said, my season was almost aloof. I took it lightly.
Wow.
I just, that was the beginning.
I'm doing you a favor by being on the team.
Right. That's how I acted. But my coach made me captain. I was a captain every year. Every team I've been on, I've been a captain. When I look back, I was like, what did y'all see in me? Yeah. Like, what did you see in me?
Listen, it reminds me of some of my first sermons that I preached. I needed to pay the people to listen to me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So from there, I know that junior college was a cruise.
Yeah.
It was a cruise. It was when I came to Mississippi College.
Yeah.
I got a rude awakening.
Yeah.
A rude awakening.
Mississippi College is one of the most preeminent colleges, particularly for law in the South, and located in Clinton, Mississippi.
Right. So I when I went there, I ran into other good players,
Uh-oh.
you know,
Uh-oh.
and then I ran into a coach who
Yeah.
was like, I really don't need you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I first got there, I was like, oh crap. You know, my attitude was, well, I just want to play then, you know, if you feel that way, because I should be out here. You know, I'm your best player. And he showed me better than he could tell me. I did not play my last year at NC. Did not play,
Wow.
you know, and that was the beginning of my humbling transition with basketball. God literally, he did this. I couldn't play.
Sounds like the story from from a biblical standpoint of Saul.
Right.
You know, God anointed Saul to be king, but he became very arrogant, and God took it and said, "Okay, I'll take it away
I
from you."
mean,
So how many folk, including myself, have missed opportunities, have missed promotions because of our arrogance and because of our pride? Take that finger and point at yourself. Sometimes we're so busy pointing the finger at everybody else. Look at him, look at her, that we fail to point it at ourselves. I know I've missed opportunities because of my arrogance. I'm good. God said, I'm trying to get, but I can't get past your arrogance. If I can, that's the problem. That's the thing that got Lucifer in trouble with God. He said, I'm pretty. I got it. Look at me. God said, okay, well, you just listen, you can't be here. You got to go somewhere else. And I'm going to create another place for you to go. All right.
right.
And so God had to transition your attitude
He did.
by taking stuff from you.
It took some years.
But even with him taking things from us, he's doing it not to hurt us,
But to help us.
but to help
But
us.
to help us. Throughout those years of transition, I didn't take it well. You talking about I went through things such as, suicide attempts. I tried every coping method that you could think of. Not crack. I ain't tried crack. I ain't do that.
Mhm.
I didn't try anything to that extent, but it was one of those I had to try to figure out life again. And that's why I mentioned earlier.
Why did you consider suicide?
Because I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to do with the pain that I felt. I didn't know what to do with what I felt like was rejection or being lost. So I just wanted to end it. It's one of those, if I end it, I don't have to feel it. This is coming from someone who's not used to feeling bad.
So I feel compelled right now that there are people that are watching and that will watch in the archive, and they feel like you felt, and they're about to end it. I shared a story with you before the program.
Right.
How would you encourage them not to end it? I want you to look at them, and I want you to encourage them, because you're here.
Right.
But for that fleeting moment or second, day, or whatever, you even considered taking your life. How would you encourage someone right now watching and listening? Don't do it.
I would encourage, it's so easy to say don't do it, but go back to God. He's our creator. He's your father. Whatever it is that you're feeling, cry out to him. You know, cry out to him. He'll answer you. Whatever you're lost in, tell him. It's almost like you have to be in a state of vulnerability just to let that out. Don't hold your emotions in, because that's going to keep you where you are. Let those emotions out.
So Lisa, I've made some bad decisions. I am
Absolutely.
so embarrassed. And if people knew I made these decisions, or they find out, man, I'd be so embarrassed.
Right.
So how would you encourage them? But still, that's still not a reason to take your life.
It is not. It's definitely not. The embarrassment is going to come. I mean, Jesus was on the forefront of everything. Look at how they did him. You know, I would consider, if I was in his shoes, that would definitely be embarrassing to me. But you have to remember the purpose. If God is using you, remember the purpose. Embarrassment is going to come. Judgment is going to come. Everything that you can think of is going to come. But keep the purpose at the forefront of your mind. Remember who you're doing it for. You know.
And I say this as well. Remember that God created you for a purpose.
Right.
And that and even if you've made a bad decision, no matter how egregious, that God still has purpose for you
Right.
past that bad decision.
Right. But
you
without
make.
you, you won't get to fulfill that purpose.
Nor will the people that will be influenced by you, will they have an opportunity to be set free or influenced by this purpose. You said go to God, and I say this, yes, that's the first place. But also, my sister says it this way. She said it is not only important that you confide in people that you love, but you're able to confide and have a circle very tightly of people that you know that love you.
Absolutely.
And that they're willing to stick with you. I didn't say agree with what you did, but they're willing to stick with you and walk with you through the storm. Be careful not to let everybody in your ear. Be careful what you listen to, and be careful what you listen to. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. It's going to get deeper and deeper. My friend, Arlisa Thomas, on Defining Moments. So you're at that point. You're like, I'm tired of the pain. I've let myself down. I've let people down. I've made a fool of myself. I'm just going to end it all. And you were serious about it.
Very serious.
You've done everything, tried everything but crack and meth to medicate and mitigate the pain.
Right.
And there's no need of nobody whispering and gasping, because we've done everybody has done some crazy stuff.
Right.
Let me say that. Everybody has done some crazy stuff. All right. So why didn't you go through with it?
That passion. To my best friend was always there for me. Ms. Allison Waters. She was the one who helped pull me out of a lot of the stuff that I was about to do. That circle that you mentioned, she pretty much is my circle. I thank God for her.
20 seconds.
Without her, I don't think that I honestly would be here.
A friend of mine, he's Ed Trim. He says, if you want to know who a person is, look at the circle of their friends.
Right.
10.
You know, and you have to be careful of the circle of your friends.
Right.
Because if they're giving you advice and they're not qualified to give you advice, you're in trouble. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Defining Moments. We were saying that it's important to have someone that you can talk to that's willing to get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
That's like Job's friends. The first thing that Job's friends did, they started condemning him. When he started confessing, they started condemning him. I've gone through that, and my response is, I didn't ask you to say anything. I just asked you to sit beside me.
Right.
Sometimes we're so busy trying to give advice that we do more harm than good.
Right.
When sometimes the only thing that we need to do, particularly when people are going through pain, is just sit there and listen to them. Listen to them. Because sometimes people just need to get it out. But we're so, we're so quick. This is what you need to do. Girl, if I was you, this is what I need. Just be quiet. Sit and listen. And people will, because a lot of times the pain comes from their lack and their inability to have expressed it anyway, and to wonder if anybody even cares.
Right.
And you can point to a mentor, a friend that helped you through.
Right.
And so what would you say to those that are listening and watching, how important it is for you to have someone that you know within your knower that will walk with you through it?
The first thing I would definitely say is ask God to send the right people to you. That's something I had to learn, because you don't want him to just send anybody to you. Send someone who walks his walk, talk his talk. Someone who is for him, and you will know when you see it.
That's powerful. That's powerful. For God to send someone that walks his walk and his talk.
That's right.
Not worldly stuff.
That's right. When he sends that person to you, you'll know it, because they're going to stick with you through your crazy stuff. They'll stick with you no matter what you're doing. They'll give you the best advice. This is what you mentioned earlier about, once again, those qualities of that good circle from someone. So when you ask God that, I guarantee you he'll send it to you.
Listen, let me ask you this before we go further. If people would like, because you're a life coach, if people would like to get in contact with you, do you do speaking engagements? like to groups, churches, to like corporate events or corporate retreats. Do you do that?
I will indeed.
So if people would like to invite you to speak at their corporate event, their corporate retreat, or their church or their group, how can they get in contact with you?
They can get in contact with me through my phone line, which is 601-405-6455.
Okay, that number again, because I just feel somebody's writing it down.
It's
Like, hold on. Why won't this pen work? Why won't this pen work? When I need a pen, I can't find one. Say it again.
601
Okay.
405-6455.
Okay.
Or you can email me at ltelement@outlook.com. That's the letters LT element ELEMENT
Okay. All right. And if people would like to give, is this a foundation or a nonprofit that they can give into to help you sponsor clinics and
Yes.
retreats?
Yes. Whenever you contact me with the information that I just gave, and you want to give, I can tell you in whatever way you want to give. I can tell you how to pay.
So that number again is
601-405-6455.
And that your address?
That email is ltelement@outlook.com.
You know, Arlisa, I'm very excited about your future. And I shared that with you on the phone. I said, you know, it's just something very special about you, but God had to prune you, didn't
He did.
He had to, you know, God
Still
did.
is.
Yeah, the reason why some of us are still on first base is because we're not willing to go through the pruning process. And if it were not for God sending me through the, you know, because I've never been like a riotous, just idiot, you know, but God is holding some of us here in a certain place because He's trying to protect us from driving ourselves off the cliff.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
because of our arrogance, because of our pride, and because of our ego, and we think that we know it. And so you've had the coach benched you, said, listen, no, I run this, you don't. You ain't all of that, you know. And Nick Saban does a very good job at that. Sometimes he won't release his players to play until they are juniors or seniors, right? You know, so I'm here to coach you, and I have a reputation. I have the resume to do that, but it ain't about you. It's a bigger picture.
That's
so, and so that was your defining moment. You had a coach, but then you've had other defining moments, particularly with the God transitioning your mother.
Absolutely. God did transition my mother on last year. That was something that was extremely hard for me because I had to learn how to live without mom. Learning to live without mom is a hurt that I had never experienced outside of, I've experienced other pains, but that was a different type of pain. I was lost. And I remember trying to live without her that first month and being like, who am I going to call? Who am I going to call when I have a problem? Who am I going to call when I need, to come care for me whenever I'm sick? Like, even though I'm an adult, my mom always came around when I was sick. Crazy story. I'm 33. And she was still bringing soup through the door. So I went through a stage of depression. I seeked counseling.
That's real, isn't it?
It's very real.
I'm glad you said that. I'm going to let you continue. And you said you sought counseling.
Right.
Particularly in the African American community, it's a stigma that if you are depressed and you can't get through it, or you just pray about it and God get you through it, it's such a stigma that we don't seek counsel. And that is so unfortunate. Or we tag people that if they do seek counsel, then you must not have faith. But God gives us folk on earth to help us.
Absolutely. So in that process of me seeking counseling, I did go through therapy. It helped out tremendously. And it's so crazy because even though in that process of me losing sight of who I was, that was the beginning of God showing me what he wanted me to do. And I want to use the word forced to ask him, but I asked him a lot, like, God, what do you want me to do? What am I here for? Because there was another part, when suicide came back to mind. I have no purpose here. What am I going to do without my mom? Like, and God I started praying, and that's when I began to ask God, Send me the circle that you want around me. Show me what you want me to do. It didn't take God over a month to do it. I kid you not. Didn't take him long at all. He started positioning people around me, and those people knew what was going on. They started helping me get back on my feet. They started encouraging me. Hey, Lisa, like, hey, and things. And I want to use the term. It just started falling in my lap. That's how it happened. It fell in my lap. And over that course, I was like, what is this? And I'm like, it's what you prayed for. He's showing you the direction that he wants you to go in. You know, throughout that transition too, my wants started getting mixed up in it. And then he had to sit me right back on down, like, you know, this is what I want you to do. So here I am now, like my path is being directed by him.
Because God has a bigger picture for you.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes we can allow people, places, and things that has nothing to do with God's purpose for our lives to fog us.
Right.
To fog us.
Right.
And that's one of the enemy's weaponries is distraction.
Right.
You know, a friend of mine last night said, I had dinner with him last night, and he says his preacher told him, if your favorite candy is chocolate, the enemy is not gonna send bananas. Or he said if your favorite candy is chocolate, he's not going to send another kind of candy. If your favorite ice cream is vanilla, he's not going to send you chocolate. The enemy is going to send you exactly the thing that tempts you, because he wants to distract you.
Correct.
So be careful when you are purpose and all of a sudden people start influencing you and other opportunities starts coming in your path. You're like, where'd this come from?
Right.
God, the Bible says God will never tempt you, nor will he allow you to be tempted beyond your capacity to get out of it.
That's right.
And so you can be on the path of God, but the enemy will still throw spitballs at you.
He sure will. He sure will. He never stops.
And your mom and your mom was your greatest fan. She was your hero. She was your mentor. And the Lord says, I'm gonna reward her. It's time for her to move. And sometimes, being very respectful, sometimes we depend on people so much that they become our crutch.
And I did. So, you know, I had to learn too that it had to be me and God. That love and everything that I had from my mom, that belonged to God. It belonged to him, you know.
So in other words, we can be so busy worshiping, and we're supposed to love our family members.
We are.
But not worship them beyond God.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think sometimes parents get in trouble with their children. They're children worshipers.
Right.
You know, God says, thou shalt have nobody above me but 15. Me. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Lord, my friend, Arlisa Thomas on Defining Moment. Stay tuned. Keep her on your radar. So, Arlisa, what did you learn without, sharing confidential information? What did you learn as you went through therapy about you and God? But more importantly, how did you recalibrate your purpose?
I had to first relearn what my gifts were. I felt like God had already given it to me, and I used them a lot as a child. And
example, and not necessarily like shooting basketball and doing three-pointers.
Art.
Deeper than that.
Yeah, art was one of them, and just the gift of being able to pray, over people. I have the gift of intercession. That's something I didn't know I had. So even when I would go to my home church, I would have pastors telling me it's time for you to use your gift. Like, this is your gift.
I want you to hold that thought. Arlisa, I'm going to get you on record. You hear it, you see it, you hear it. I'm going to get you back here. Will you come back here?
I sure will.
Now, when you become this raving superstar, I don't want to have to go through your secretary to get to you. I want to be able to give. Oh, she's back there in the control room.
That's who's gonna have control of everything.
I don't want no trouble out of you now when I need to get to her, Lisa. All right.
You won't have
Okay.
it.
All right. I want to be able to get to her because I have private cell numbers of a lot of athletes directly. So I want to have yours too. I'm just kidding. But you learned in counseling who you really are.
That's exactly right.
Not the facade, not the superficial, but you learn who you really are. How important is it to learn, for people to learn? And I want you to look at them and encourage it. Because you know what? You have folk that are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old still saying, I don't know my purpose.
I'm gonna say this. It's when you get off of the path that God has you on, that's when you lose yourself. That's when you don't know who you are. But when you're following him, that's when you know who you are.
So how do you know for sure? Because I say it this way, you will find your greatest peace when you're living your purpose.
Right.
I didn't say you're gonna make a gazoob of money, all right, but you'll find your greatest peace and your greatest success. Success is relative because success is not based upon tangibility.
Right.
Success is having peace. All right. That's the greatest degree of success, is when you're living in the nectar of God's will. Now, also, let me say this. I tell people all the time, God has no problem. He made it. God, he thinks so little of it. He made the streets of heaven with gold and gates of pearl and onyx and all that other stuff, jewels, precious jewels. God doesn't mind you having stuff.
Right.
He doesn't mind you being a gazillion billionaire.
Right.
But he don't want stuff having you.
That's right.
He don't mind you having stuff. He don't want stuff having you.
That's right. So that once again, that goes back to you knowing, for one, know your purpose, knowing your gifts and using them for him and him only. I think those are things that help you stay on track, no matter how much you're making. But it's when we get off that track, then the stuff has us.
Ooh, and we start doing things to get the stuff.
Right.
So what's Arlisa's long game?
What do you mean?
If I follow you and track you within the next 10 years, what do you believe and what are you declaring for God to have accomplished in your life in the next 10 years?
Well, for one, his will, whatever his will may be. From a child, it's always been my desire to be this WNBA superstar. But as I got older, I said, I want to use this as a platform for his glory to shine through me.
Yeah.
So that's my desire. And if that's his will, you know what? I'm all for it.
Well, God doesn't mind you. God will honor the desires of your heart.
Right.
He said that I'll give you the desires of your heart if they are legitimate.
That's right.
If they're righteous, if they're for his glory.
Right.
God will put you on the largest stage in life if you'll give him honor. And oftentimes when God elevates us, we forget about him.
Look, I've been through too much stuff. I ain't gonna forget about it.
Yeah, I hear you. And so your next, because you play in it, you said the league that you play in is akin to like the G League,
right?
And so
women are drafted from that league.
Okay, and so your goal is to be drafted, play in WNBA,
right?
All right. And so, how long would you like to have a career in WNBA? 4 years.
Yeah, I would at least want 5 years.
Okay.
5 years.
And then after that, after 5 years,
I'll continuously do community outreach.
Okay.
In states and even internationally, I want to do community outreach.
So you don't mind. So you don't mind traveling internationally now.
I don't mind.
When God gives you that passport this time, you won't show out.
I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna do it right. Well, he'll give you another chance to do it.
He will do it.
So I want to.
He will do it. I tell people, God is not a God of a second chance. He's God of another chance.
That's right.
If it was second chance, I messed that up like 1,000 chances ago.
Right. Look, God, I'm a big girl now. I can do it. Let me go back out there, please.
And he doesn't mind doing it. Once again, if people would like to get in contact with you to invite you to that, because you have such a wonderful personality, it's infectious. If people would like to invite you to speak at their retreat or their camp, the corporate event, how can they get in contact with you?
601-405-6455, or you can email me at ltelement@outlook.com. That's LTELEMENT
So you play with the Mississippi Lady Lakers. So if people would like to support the Mississippi Lady Lakers or to attend their games, to sponsor events, or how can they access that?
Well, on all social media platforms, you can go to Mississippi Lakers, or you can contact us. You can use my cell as well. But we have all of our contact information on those Mississippi Lakers pages.
Okay. And the first game, you guys' first game?
First game is going to be in May.
Okay.
Don't have the date yet, but our home is going to be Hillcrest Christian School.
Okay.
Located in Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay.
We have
that's Bernard. That's Bernard step the territory. Bernard.
Yeah, we got 6 home games and 6 away games. So if everybody can come out and make those 6 home games, we would love to.
Mississippi Lady Lakers, ladies
right.
and gentlemen. So all of the players, are they from the Metro Jackson area or from all over?
Well, we have our final combine on February 26th.
Okay.
We're going to choose our roster from there.
Okay.
Yes, but so far we've had people coming out of state to try out for it. It is a paid contract. So
is it a co-ed position? Me and Josh may try out for it. Josh said forget about him.
No, not co-ed. So
okay.
Hopefully we'll get to the point to where we get a boys team, a men's team. But yeah, so far.
What keeps you smiling through past all of the pain that you've experienced, all of the disappointment, all of the hurt, all of the scars, so much so that you even considered remotely taking your life, but now you're smiling? What keeps that joy in your heart?
It's a couple of things. Thinking about how my mom used to encourage me. I think about that a lot. That keeps me smiling. My best friend does. I can't stand her. She can't stand me, but we work things out.
I got it. I know a couple people like that. I can't stand them. They can't stand me, but you better not mess with them.
Right. And my family does. Those are the things that keep me smiling. And my niece and my nephew, they're key too. I love them. And the kids that I train.
So having a circle that you can depend on.
Absolutely.
That won't feed you rhetoric, that won't feed you propaganda, that will love you even if it means disagreeing with you and saying you ain't all of that. I love you enough to tell you that your slip is hanging. That's an example. Or your breath is stinking, or what you did, you messed up. I love you enough to be honest with you because I care. And I'm not going to go along and to get along and be groupie because I really don't want anything from you. Absolutely. other than for you to succeed at the highest level of your success. So if you could say that you've learned one great lesson throughout your life, if you had to write a book,
2 minutes,
if you had to write a book and you had to put something in there that you would want people to learn from and to take note of and to be cautious and careful of, what would that be?
To remove yourself.
I want you to look at them and tell them that.
To remove yourself.
The greatest advice that you could give anybody would be?
The greatest advice that I could give to anybody would be to remove yourself so that God takes full control of your life and to have a why. Once again, your why is your drive. When you want to give up, you'll be able to revert back to that why so that you can keep going. And
I say this, so how do you respond? But Lisa, you just don't know. I made some bad decisions. I don't think God can use me anymore. I mean, I think I'm past my prime. I think I'm over it.
I said all of that.
You've said all of that?
I've said all of that. But, if God said this is his will and this is what he's going to do, you better be quiet and be ready to be used.
And I say this, God did some of his greatest work when people were in the senior season of their life. I mean, look at Abraham, look at Moses. I mean, look at Elizabeth, look at Sarah. So God uses it to his advantage, not to ours. And so people need to get off stuck of, well, I'm this age. If God has that burning passion inside of you, as Paul told Timothy, like it was with your grandmother, Lois and Eunice, you need to stir it up.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Arlisa Thomas, listen, you have been a delight and you have encouraged me, and I'm sure you have encouraged others on Defining Moments. Thank you for being a guest on Defining Moments, and I look forward to having you back.
All right.
And I want you to remember this, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't allow Jesus to pay for your sins, you'll have to. See you next week on Defining Moments. So, Arlisa, once again, I'd like you just to look in the camera and just give our viewing audience just a last word of encouragement about living their purpose.
All right. Last word of encouragement that I would give to people about living their purpose is to, one, let God lead your path. And what I recently said was remove yourself so that He can fully use you in that path. And the last thing is to have a why. Your why is what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to give you the drive when you want to give up. Is that why? Write it down, put it on the wall. That way you can see it every day. But always remember that why, and remember to let God be the leader of your path.
Wow, I can't add anything to that other than the fact that sometimes you may have to encourage yourself.
That's right.
Because other people will tear you down, and sometimes you may be the only person to encourage yourself. But if you can remember that why, you and God, you're majority. See you next week.
Clear.